The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a second Super Bowl title in franchise history.
Time for another round of roster reset. We're doing it every day. Our hosts, our analysts, experts all over the network breaking down a division by division ahead of the 2021 season and ahead of the NFL draft. Today we are focusing on the NFC South, where we find these Super Bowl champions, the Buccaneers, reigning supreme. So I thought we could start with a former Buccaneers quarterback, Jameis Winston, guys. Fascinating character ahead of this season. He replaced a future Hall of Famer, and he was replaced by a huge future Hall of Famer in Tom Brady. It's all sort of connected there. And now he's inheriting this Saints offense on a Super Bowl-worthy team. So for years, we've considered the Saints Super Bowl contenders. I've been saying it, and we're riding off a cliff with them for years now. Would you say they're still contenders with Jameis Winston officially under center?
Yeah, I think they are contenders, and it's ironic, right? For a couple of years now, people have been talking about, can Drew Brees stretch the field vertically? Is he limited? Is his arm waning? And yet, Drew Brees is one of 8 quarterbacks to throw for over 5,000 yards. He did it 3 times. Guess what? They're replacing him with a quarterback, one of those other 8 quarterbacks that has thrown for over 5,000 yards.
Yes,
so, yeah, I look at Jameis Winston and I say, I think this offense is going to be much more vertical. I think he can do exactly what Drew Brees did from a production standpoint. And the great thing is he's got a great supporting cast. I mean, for Jameis Winston, to have Alvin Kamara and one of the best offensive lines in the NFL right now, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to be that guy every single throw. You don't have to try to win the game. You don't have to put that pressure on yourself. I know everybody wants to talk about Jameis Winston and the interceptions that he threw his last year in Tampa Bay, 30 of them. Guess what? 10 of those interceptions happened in the first quarter. Right, that's Jameis trying to do too much. You don't have to do that. You've got a great supporting cast here, and I'm not even showing Michael Thomas. For Jameis, I think all he's got to do is just be the steady hand.
Yeah, one of the biggest sound bites I heard from Jameis Winston last year was, I've learned what throws not to make, which I didn't hear from him when he was playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I do feel like they'll be Super Bowl contenders. And I feel like this offense will be more explosive with Jameis Winston. One of the best things that happened to Jameis wasn't the criticism or the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride of playing in Tampa, being praised and then being criticized, the mistakes he might have made. The best thing that ever happened for Jameis was for him to watch the game from a bird's eye view, sitting on the sideline, watching Drew Brees, and learning how to take care of the rock. That's one thing, Drew Brees, soaking it up and sitting back. And even when you saw him in those small doses last year, you could see he was taking care of the ball, just having a little bit more discernment. Go through a couple of reads, and if you don't want to go all the way to your 3rd or 4th progression, just dump it off, throw the ball away, take a sack. That's okay. You live to play another day, live to play another down. So for me, Jameis Winston being at the quarterback position for the Saints, it's a good thing. Now, we're saying all this, and it's the offseason, and we're being very optimistic. This is a glass half full show. Jameis Winston is still going to have to show up and prove that he knows how to take care of the rock. But like you said, when you have Michael Thomas, you have Alvin Kamara, it's the best thing. Just go to your superstars and don't do too much.
And you got Sean Payton, who I think is most important.
There you go.
He's the steady hand. He's going to be the one who ensures that Jameis succeeds. It's not going to Sean Payton's not going to have Jameis Winston fall on his face and put him in a dangerous situation. He cares too much about the offense, and he cares too much about Jameis. I think it's almost viewed as like an indictment against Drew Brees, and we're like, this offense could get better or more interesting with Jameis.
I was thinking Drew Brees watching this.
Drew Brees watching is like, are you guys serious? But Jameis has a live arm. Jameis can chuck it. So I think it's exciting because we haven't seen the Sean Payton offense really with Jameis under center yet. So that is one thing. But it's a team game, and they lost so much this year, and it wasn't just Drew Brees. Drew Brees was the headlines and the retirement, but gosh, Emmanuel Sanders was a 1-year deal, but he was good last year. Trey Hendrickson had close to 20 sacks. Jared Cook has been the go-to guy in a lot of key situations. Rankins was a first-round pick. Janoris was a big acquisition. So they had a salary cap situation where it was going to be really hard. I think they did a really good job. They brought back Marcus Williams. They restructured a bunch of guys. They're going to be okay. But it's a team game. It's not just Jameis Winston, and I think that the Saints might have some struggles early on and just finding some younger players to say, can you step up and be those guys right from go? Because we need you from the start.
I mean, Sean Payton came on our show. He didn't talk about Taysom Hill. He talked about Jameis Winston. He talked about him at length, relaxed in an atmosphere after he'd gotten over the loss in the playoffs already, and he was just waxing poetically about him. I didn't even need to hear that from Coach Sean Payton. Their actions to me said everything. They were strapped with the salary cap, but they could have made moved some decimal points and made it work to bring out a guy. This wasn't some harsh ending that surprised them. They knew Drew Brees was going to hang it up within a couple of years, and they found their guy, and they liked him, and his name is Jameis Winston, and they've groomed him throughout the year. So it's the actions that speak louder to me. Like they got their guy, they found him. They didn't trot him out there and show everybody what he looked like. They wanted to keep him. Maybe they wanted to keep him to like under cap a little bit. Like nobody pay attention to this guy. What we're going to do with him. I don't know how that translates, Nate. What you're saying, like it's a very cool story to me. To like he sat there and he watched Drew Brees and how quickly can that change? Can you get that sort of mindset shift without being in live action? I don't know, so I don't know how it's going to look from the jump there. But I mean, he redshirted at Florida State, right, Triggs, and he went and played, started right away. He's never been in a situation where he's gotten to sit down, so we have to at least give him the credit for that.
He played baseball in all those off seasons.
Yeah, half the time.
So like to finally have my team, I'm the one, and it's going to be with Sean Payton. I think it's exciting. So.
And he was a starter day one in Tampa, right?
Oh,
he
yeah.
gets there, and he's never had what you're saying is that moment to be like, hey, Drew. And I love everything he's definitely saying. I cannot wait to see it.
There's also value in when Drew Brees was banged up and hurt and couldn't practice. Guess who was taking reps in practice? Yeah, I know Taysom Hill was taking some, but Jameis was throwing the ball, running the offense, running the scout team as well. So it's not like he was injured and sat out and didn't play football for a year and took a year off. They were watching him. They were, I'm sure
no one
he
knows
stayed
better
after
than
and
them.
said, look, let me hone my skills.
Yeah, I think they groomed him last year for this
sure.
starting role. Okay, now, faux show, he says. Is Jameis Winston the biggest question mark in the NFC South, though? I mean, it's a fascinating character. We all seem to be optimistic about him. Is he the biggest question mark, Nate?
No, it's going to have to be the quarterbacks for the Carolina Panthers. As much as I can appreciate Teddy Bridgewater, and we oftentimes talk about him as a micromanager of quarterbacks. Early in the show, Strays, you were talking about Mac Jones, and I said there's nothing wrong with being, steady Eddie, a guy that you can consistently count on. I think the question I have for the Carolina Panthers and Teddy Bridgewater is Teddy ready?
Sam Darnold.
No. I'm talking about earlier in the show, you were talking about Mac Jones, and I said there's nothing wrong with being steady Eddie. But in this situation, I'm asking, is Teddy ready? A play on words, Trace. That's what I'm saying.
Steady Teddy.
Steady Teddy. That's what I'm saying. But when it comes to these two quarterbacks, it's Teddy Bridgewater and Sam Darnold. And you look at the last two seasons that these guys had. I mean, the last season, they just didn't play well. And Sam Darnold with the Jets and everything that was going on, him being banged up, not having playmakers, you don't have the tape on Sam Darnold to say, this is our guy. So even when the trade happened, everybody was like, okay, all right. We like the fact that Sam Darnold gets another opportunity, but he didn't play well in a Jets jersey. And I get it. You can give me 1,000 reasons
yes,
why.
We can.
But let's just talk about pure numbers. He did not play well. Teddy Bridgewater. You can give me 1,000 reasons. Well, Christian McCaffrey wasn't there. And they were dealing with a new system, and they got a new head coach. And he didn't play well. So you have two quarterbacks who in their past seasons did not play well. So the question, is Teddy ready, and is Sam Darnold going to be the man?
Yeah, when they say, Teddy can go explore his own trade, that's why I was interrupted. It's probably Sam Darnold. You think Teddy Bridgewater still has a shot, even though they're saying, hey, go explore your own trade possibilities, and we just traded all this for Sam Darnold? To me, it's a foregone conclusion. It is Darnold. You think it could possibly be Teddy?
Yeah, well, Sam Darnold went 2-11 last year. Teddy Bridgewater went 4-11. So, I mean, you're going to let Teddy Bridgewater walk and shake the dice with Sam Darnold in a new system? I mean, if they're going head-to-head and fighting for the spot, I couldn't tell you that Sam Darnold would beat out Teddy Bridgewater right now.
It's funny because they actually were head-to-head in New York, and that was when they first moved in. It's crazy that this is full circle here.
Repeating itself.
I'm going to go back to Jameis. If the Saints are like a perennial playoff team, and Jameis was not a perennial playoff quarterback. So I'm just curious. It's a question mark. I'm not, again.
Huge question.
I think we're all pretty positive, far more positive on Jameis than other places on sports television. And we all like Jameis's game and saw him excel, and it's just limit the mistakes. It could be great, but gosh, again, Drew Brees is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play football, and you're inserting a player who led the league in interceptions the last time we saw him in a full-time starting role. So to me, he's the greatest question mark, because if Jameis is good, if Jameis is great, Saints could be a problem this year.
Doesn't Jameis have to be better than Drew, though, to get them to, just a basic logic?
Maybe that new energy is something different, right? Drew, all right, we're in the playoffs again. We've lost these games. And Now Jameis comes in, and it's like, hey, there's this young, unbridled enthusiasm from Jameis. It's just a different vibe. So I think he's a question mark, but not in a negative way. I'm actually really curious and almost excited to see him get an opportunity.
You know, it's scary when you look at this NFC South. We're talking about quarterbacks and Jameis Winston and you know, what's going on down in Carolina. Let's not forget about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their offense and their quarterback and Tom Brady. So I'm looking at this division and I'm saying, to me, the biggest question mark is this Atlanta Falcons defense. When you look at if you're a Falcons fan, all right, you may want to not hear this, but you've been in misery right now with what's been put out there defensively. Misery